All right. Are we getting a hot tub in our Airbnb, Will?
Yeah.
You have to.
And guys, this is why, when we do the seller disclosures, sometimes Alex is like, is there a jacuzzi? I honestly don't know.
I don't know.
And
we need one. We need one.
What's up, everyone? We just finished Ask Alex 55. This week, we were talking about our deals in the desert. And man, there's a lot going on out there. Alex, what were your biggest takeaways?
Man, what a great webinar, right, Will? I love these deal review ones. And the deals in the desert. We have a couple out there now, Joshua Tree, Yucca Valley. And then we put on Gabriel, which is he's a young real estate entrepreneur. He's doing stuff in Landers, some land development deals that he's wholesaling. So I think we covered so much ground on that and why we're investing in the desert. Check it out, you guys, for more details. Hey, what's up? Aloha, my deal makers. What's up, everybody? Back over here in Maui. What's up, everybody? How's everybody doing? Happy holidays. We are having a busy month, guys. You're just going to see in a minute. There he is. Yeah, we are having a super busy month, you guys. Final push to the end of the year. We're listing property. We're buying property. Man, it's been a wild month, to say the least. But today, as you guys know, is a deal review. So we're going to be jumping in, looking at a couple deals that we're currently about to close or just closed on out there in the Joshua Tree area, the desert. We're going to discuss some desert deals. What's up, my co-host, Mr. Will Wall?
What's up, sir? Yeah, man, desert deals. I'm excited to talk some desert deals today. There's a lot of opportunity out there, and we're definitely striking and taking advantage of it, right? Busy end to the year, indeed.
Yeah, it's funny because I've never actually been to Joshua Tree until we bought that property. So now that I know the area and I've continued to see it grow and seen people talk about it and other people that we know in our network that also have Airbnb rentals out there, they're also flipping property out there. It's interesting to see the changes that's happening over there just in a matter of like 6 months that we've been working on doing some deals out there, right?
Yeah, I mean, it hasn't been that long, but, when you do deals in areas, I think you get confidence in those areas. You become more familiar with those areas. Like, you mentioned it on calls before, right? Like you've done thousands of deals. So when you see a zip code, when you see an area code, when you see a pocket of LA, you're pretty familiar with what's going to be a deal, what's hot in that area. And I think, the more you do deals in certain areas, you become more and more familiar with them, right?
Yeah. Well, I've reviewed thousands of deals. I haven't done thousands of deals yet.
Yeah, but reviewed.
We'll get there. 1,000 deals. That's the goal, right?
Yes, sir.
But what you were saying, though, Will, is as an investor, the familiarity that you have with areas across the area that you're deciding to invest in is super critical because it gives you confidence. You know things that other people don't know. You have that inside knowledge. And so that specific knowledge allows you to make decisions based off information that other people do not have. Everybody say what's up to Mike in the background. That is our Maui and Hawaii project manager. He's working on helping me get this house over here to the finish line so we could do the burr on it. And then also helping out in managing the project for the new deal that we have on the other island.
Yeah, and I know that's one of the updates we wanted to kind of touch base on, right? Is obviously a busy end of the year, right? I think we have about 8 deals currently under contract, right? So with those 8 deals that we have under contract, I think December is for closers, right? That's kind of what we joke about it. Some people kind of push the brakes, slow down a little bit in December, but we're definitely, still buying and still very active, right?
Absolutely.
So you just got back from the Big Island.
Yeah. So a couple of things to update. I went out there for to go check out. We closed on the property already today, actually, but I went out there to walk it with a couple contractors. Mike scheduled a bunch of meetings there, and it's interesting because there's 2 sides of the island, but it's kind of expensive to fly to one side of the island. And then there's also not as many flights. So we went to the Kona side, met with a friend of ours that I met through a mastermind here on Maui. His name is David Bruce, stud. This guy's a flipper investor. He's developing some affordable housing here in Hawaii. Great dude. We'll probably have him on the webinar in the future. And then we actually got to go surf over there. I'm not the best surfer, but Mike over here is an avid surfer and a lifeguard back in New York. So you know, it was just three guys out there in the water on Sunday talking real estate,
catching some waves, right?
Yeah, catching some waves. So that was cool. And then also last week, I think a big update was that we had over 50 people on the webinar, just kind of more of an open house that we like to do. And I think that's great because we all get to connect. We all get to kind of see what everybody's up to. So yeah, man, I think it's gonna be a fantastic deal review webinar.
Yeah, if you guys haven't been to one of the deal reviews yet, like you're definitely missing out, right? I mean, like I think those are one of my favorite webinars that we do, right, Alex? Like you get to come out, you get to actually meet other people. Like you guys already know Alex, you know what Alex's business is about. You know, we've been doing this for 50 weeks, right? But I think those open house events, it's almost like being at a real networking event, right? Like you get to meet 3 or 4 or 5, 6 other 8 other people, however many people kind of chime in and speak up. And I think those are 8 people that you could meet at an in-person meetup just the same, right?
Yeah, and I'll give a quick tip on that. I remember when I first was moving to Hawaii, I was attending a weekly investor Zoom call that's called Coffee Talk. I know you've been on there, some fantastic hosts with Kakoa and Corey. Well, I got that. What I would do is I would go to the attendees, right? I would take a picture of all the attendees as far as like, their names, and I would add them on Instagram or add them on Facebook, simply because I'm like, maybe, this person's on a Hawaii investor real estate webinar or, meetup, right? That means we probably have some things in common here. So let me go ahead and add them. And I've developed some great friendships and or contacts through that method. So I highly recommend you guys do the same, where, everybody in there should be connected in some way, shape or form. We have the abundance mindset. People do deals here together. Sometimes it's not a good match for us, or we help each other with contacts like, contractors and vendors and other things like that, or just, just questions, you want to ask amongst each other, because you want to be talking to people doing more than you. You want to be talking to your peers, and you want to be talking to people that are a little bit more early on in the journey. So I think that's applicable based on wherever you're at on the journey.
Agreed, man. And I just posted the link to the Facebook group in there for everyone. If you're not a member of the Facebook group, get on over there, give it a check. Cool thing about the Facebook group, we actually have a post on there. It's featured. It's like a tagged post that just says, what's your Instagram handle and where are you from? And so highly recommend just kind of, if you're new to the group, or even if you've been to the group but haven't seen that post, go post on there, share, your location, share where it is that you're tuning in from, because, like Alex said, like it's a good way to connect with other people in your market or in markets that you're interested in investing in, right?
Yes, sir. And it's Christmas.
Cool, man. Well, I know, other big thing, we did want to kind of mention is, you've been obviously crushing it out there in Maui, right? You're back out on the island, and I know, you introduced Mike, but how is everything else going on the island? Like I know you've been doing some internships out there, and
yeah. So
really
one of the things we've been doing, because getting people to help us out with stuff here, the internship program that we've been doing. Essentially, I have a lot of space here with the house, and then my own 2-bedroom apartment that I'm leasing. And so I've strategically been having interns come out, and that program's really taken off, because essentially what they do is I pay for their flight, I pay for their expenses, their food, and their housing is already paid for, because I have the property, right? And then they get to see what I do on a day-to-day basis. They get to overhear conversations. They get to see the execution of all the stuff that we're working on. And then in return, they're helping me, go to the grocery store. They're helping drive me around the island. They're helping do some stuff on my social media. And so there's a real win-win. And I see that's really taken off, because we're helping people and they're helping us. And then, it's just the same mindset of just being a go-giver and creating win-win relationships, win-win transactions. So I'm super proud about how that program right now is turning out. And then we
landed the other day from the airport, right? And you get picked up and you're already reviewing a deal on your phone, and so, I mean, again, that intern that gets to pick you up and be a part of that, it's like, dude, holy crap, like you just landed, you're already reviewing another deal, you're already looking at another property. So, I mean, like, I think that, again, you nailed it, right? You get to see the inside, scoop of what somebody like you is doing on a day-to-day basis, right?
Yeah, and credit to
Brandon. You're on a mountain, you're on a beautiful mountainside, beautiful beachside, beautiful Maui, like, it couldn't be a better mix.
Yeah, and credit to Brandon Turner, because I'm taking a page out of his book. He's the one that like I learned it from and had heard about it. Not that I've never had an intern before or somebody shadowed me, but just he had a better system on vetting the people, so that way that really was a good fit as far as like the desire there, the personality, just kind of someone cool to be around, because I'm around the people like all the time. So it's like I don't want to be around somebody that's like socially awkward or weird or just kind of just not the type of person that I want to really be around. So we can do a good job of vetting them. But yeah, man, it's been super cool. So if anybody's interested in that, you guys should apply. We don't have it open or anything right now. We have it full, but we always have, waiting list and just people that maybe I might want to have, spend, because then you have to come to the island for like 30 days, 60 days. Like that's a long time too. People think, yeah, oh, that's amazing. But, if you got stuff back on the mainland and back stuff at home, then you have to attend to, like, not everybody can just kind of fly back and forth. It's not that easy. It's a 6-hour flight just from LA.
Yeah, makes it a little difficult, being on the island versus the mainland. So cool stuff, man. I know the intern program is important to you as well, Alex. Mentorship and teaching other people how to kind of do this is a big part of why you're in the game and why you're continuing to do what you do. So kudos to you on that. And guys, we're going to continue to crush it on the webinar, right? We're going to bring out some pretty big special guests here to end the year. We have one more webinar this year that we're still getting the webinar guest confirmed for, but we have announced that our first webinar next year is going to be with a big hitter, Steve Trang, right, Alex? So that's going to be an awesome webinar. We just finished his sales training program. The dude is really sharp, really good seller, has his sales technique kind of really down to a T. So I think that'll be a good experience for everybody as well.
Agreed, 100%. Big Steve Trang fan. Follow his I think his podcast,
the Disruptors podcast. Yeah, huge podcast.
And we highly recommend his sales program. The guy is just top level, so definitely check his stuff out. I think another big announcement, really. I just want to give credit to you, all the Hawaii team, everybody in LA, all the big LA team, Omari, Giuseppe, everybody that worked with Paul, Eric. I mean, I could go on and on, but the team is just cranking on all cylinders, especially the last quarter. And this month, if I'm not mistaken, Will, you tell me, we're going to close and buy 8 houses.
Yeah, should be a December's for closing, right? We're 8 houses in the books. So like you said, it's a kudos to the team, everybody who's a part of it. But yeah, it's a big way to end the year with a splash.
Complete team effort, man. You can't do it without people on all sides of things. So I think it's time to jump into deal review. Did we miss anything on the update?
No, that's pretty good, guys. What we're gonna do now is go ahead and do a deal review. Like Alex mentioned, we've acquired a couple of deals here recently, and some of these deals were actually out in the desert. So we're going to kind of just do a desert deal review today and go over a couple of our newest acquisitions that we kind of got out there. So Alex, this first one, really kind of came together, very, very quickly, right? Like, almost, closing in about 10 days from getting out there. But let's kind of dive into it and give some insight to people on how the deal kind of came about and what kind of made us jump on the deal, right? So can you guys see my screen now?
Yeah. I mean, this deal was brought to us by somebody that we know, someone in our network. Many of you probably know him, Brian Davila. And I mean, he's a great friend, savage investor, and just a colleague, somebody I hold in really high regard. We actually haven't done any deals together. And then, he brought it, and from the minute that we talked about it, I think it was that deal that had just flown in to Maui, and then we were already looking at that deal because it was a hot one. So we vetted that super fast. That next morning, I think we got out there, and within 24 hours of talking to him on the deal, we pretty much locked it up or agreed to buy it. So it was really the source of the deal was the relationship wholesale with another investor wholesaler. It looks like it just wasn't the best use of his time because it was a monster deal, and it's just better for him to wholesale it, and we picked it up.
Yeah, and again, he's got enough on his plate, so he's already kind of tapped out in terms of resources. And again, the big thing on this one, guys, is our speed to the deal. There was several other people, maybe even people in this room today, that were looking at this deal as well. And we were able to get out there the same day it was sent out, and everybody else was, hey, we'll get out there, check it out tomorrow. We'll get out there, check it out tomorrow. And lucky for us, we already are actively working on a project out in Joshua Tree. So we already have an active team out there and had boots on the ground out there, and we're able to get on site, pretty immediately to get, again, eyes on this property and make sure that it was something, that we were interested in committing to. So like you said, Alex, like I think that's a big reason why we were able to get that deal was speed, relationship with the wholesaler, relationship with the person who's bringing it. And those are, again, big pieces of deal making, right?
Yes. Connecting with other investors and other wholesalers that are active can be huge dividends, but we network quite a lot. And yeah, sure enough, and also what I love about working with someone is that there's just a bit more transparency, right? Where you're just like, hey, this is a deal, I'm a go-getter, I'm an investor, hey, this, let's just put it all on the table. And there isn't as much of those like kind of song and dance and kind of just not being transparent or just omitting information to their benefit. And he was straightforward, like, hey, we're making a fat wholesale fee. I'm like, hey, no problem, as long as it hits our numbers. We talked a little bit about it and we put it together. So I'm super grateful for that relationship. But also I've been, networked with Brian for 18 months now. So we're finally gonna do a deal together.
Yep. And let's take a look at this thing real quick. This is the property out here in Joshua Tree. So first thing you guys will notice is it's out a little bit further in Joshua Tree from the actual town of Joshua Tree, but that's, again, something that we're not afraid of. We enjoy the rural nature of Joshua Tree. So this is where the property is itself. And then right down here, this is kind of Joshua Tree proper, this little gray area on the map. So this is, again, it's in one of the further areas out. It's got a dirt road that actually leads up to it for the last half a mile. But we've already driven that dirt road, and it's not a deterrent in any way. I think it again is something that makes this property a little bit more unique and something that people enjoy getting out to when they go to Joshua Tree, right?
Yeah. So on this deal, it was a little further out, but that's where people go out there. People want to be away from the city. People want to not be close in dense populated areas. They go out there to have that open feel. But you still got to put your eyes on it, and it's a little bit harder than going into a property that's in the city. So I think that little bit of barrier of entry for that market, I think people tend to be a little bit more skeptical, and it's cool because then they act a little bit slower. And again, that's why we got the deal, because we were confident and quick.
And this thing is on 2.5 acres. It's a big property. It's 1,100 square feet. So keep that in mind. 1,100 square feet. That's a pretty big property out here by Joshua Tree standards. So if you look just down the road from us, a couple blocks over, this is a recent listing that closed. It's also on 2.5 acres. It's actually about 400 square feet less than ours, but you'll notice that it is a beautiful interior design. We have a similar looking kind of patio on the outside, the barn door style doors, clean kitchen that's open, and screens kind of these desert properties. Desert shower and the jacuzzi outside with the Joshua Tree and the corrugated fence. Like, this is your standard Joshua Tree property. Would you agree, Alex?
Yes. And so when you're doing property out there, you have to understand what is really desirable, what is in high demand. And what we also noticed with some of the comps, I don't know if you're going to show them or not, but I think it's worth mentioning, is that the ones that were just those cookie cutter rehab renovations, right? The grays, the whites that you see everywhere else in the populated dense city, whenever you see a flip, those are not selling for as high of a price, and they're also taking longer to sell or sitting on the market at a high price because some investor went in there, bought the property, thought he could just do a standard rehab, and then now they're finding out that, hey, I actually got to do a lot of design work on my rehabs. I had to think outside the box on my rehabs. I had to see what Airbnbs are renting out there and try to rehab my property so it looks like that. And so we learned that by really studying the comps, studying the Airbnb rentals, and then that way we can make decisions based off of real information and what's desirable for that area compared to like what we can easily just pull off as a rehab. So there's more work that's done on that side of things. So keep that in mind, guys. If you're going to ever decide to do deals out there, it has to be really tricked out, designed, and par for the area, which is what you're seeing right now with some of the stuff that Will is bringing up.
You nailed it, right, Alex? You're not just going to do like a generic flip, right? You're not going to do what we would normally do out here in LA. Even laminate floors, right? Not really the most popular things in the desert. People prefer a polished cement, something a little bit more cooler. It can get like 100+ degrees out there during the summer months when you're out hiking in the the national park. And so when you come back home, you want to have that nice feel when you get there. And again, you're just not really seeing the standard cookie cutter flip, right, Alex? Like you mentioned more of the design element, the design work in there that makes that property feel unique. And a lot of these houses out here, you'll notice they have like, names, like this is the Sky Ranch, this is the, Noah house, this is these houses. So like people have like names that kind of make that house feel special, one of a kind, where, again, that's why you're going out there, right, Alex? You want to get away from the normal.
Yep, exactly. And, you want that eclectic feel, very artsy. Yeah.
So you can see on a couple of these flips down here, some of these even more in the high end, larger properties that are able to get a little bit more money. But these are houses that on these 2.5 acres are highly desirable. I think our property includes a couple of big Joshua trees that you look out onto, which again is when you're out there, you want to be able to go and enjoy yourself, enjoy the yucca trees, enjoy the Joshua trees, and enjoy the park out there. So let's kind of dive into our calculator on this one real quick. Are you able to see the calculator?
Yeah, let's see that.
Cool.
I think it'd be helpful if you zoomed in a little bit though.
Yeah, we'll zoom in on just the middle one right here so you guys can see the base case right in the middle. And if you guys aren't familiar, if you haven't used our calculator before, go ahead and check out the Facebook group. We have a copy of it in there, as well as a link to Alex kind of going in. And we also have a couple of these. We do one of these deal reviews just about once a month. And you can just go online, check it out on YouTube, get a feel for this calculator. And Alex will kind of run through why we use the base case, the best case, and the worst case. But I mean, that's what we do as investors, right? Is we make investment decisions, and this calculator, plays a big part in that.
Yeah, absolutely. Once we looked at those numbers, even though it was a big wholesale fee, we're like, man, this thing has a lot of potential. It's a heavy rehab, but then we have the contract out there, so there's just all these data points that you're collecting when you're doing deals. And when you're starting out, maybe you don't have as many data points, but that's why we're sharing with you guys this information so you know what to look for, how to analyze the deal, and whether it's a good enough risk for whatever capital you're going to put in or whatever time, energy you're going to put into a certain project.
Yeah, we have 180 days on here, right? Because obviously this is a little different than a 1,000 square foot home in LA that we might be able to get done in 3 or 4 months. We're putting 6 months on here because we anticipate a little bit slower work time out there in the desert. We anticipate, delays in materials getting out there to the desert. Some of those things that are going to be a part of it that we now know from having already done some deals out there. 260 purchase price with a 420 ARV and looking at about a 90K rehab. This is what we're kind of looking at on the deal would be a base case scenario where we would go in and make about $65,000 on this deal.
Yep. And it hits our, for us, you guys, as a reminder, I know a lot of you are tuning in for return a guest, but we always looking for us typically a 30% return on investment at least, and then a certain amount of profit. And this definitely hit our profit for this purchase price. We would want to see close to a $50,000 profit, and it definitely hits the 30 and the 50. So it's either or, but it's just also based on the rehab, because if it's a $90,000 rehab, we definitely want to be closer towards like 30-40% because it's very active type of work that we're doing, and there's some risk involved. So we're having to pay hard money interest rates and all that, and then also private money, and you make sure it's enough meat on the bone for everybody. And it's not really for how much potential upside it has. There's not too much downside. If everything goes wrong, we just break even. Everybody gets paid, including our lenders. Great, we're going to do that deal. If everything goes wrong,
let's talk about that, Alex. Like the downside, right? The worst case scenario. How would the worst case happen? Like, what are some of the things that could affect this deal?
So really, it's the 3 numbers, right? It's the price that you get when you go to resell the property, which is obviously referred to as the ARV, after repair value, and the amount that you can spend to rehab the property, and then how long it actually takes to do that. So in a worst case scenario, say you got popped by the city, not pulling permits or something, or you had some type of, I don't know, natural disaster and some delays. With us, we had a delay on our hotel deal over in La Quinta because we had an uninspected flooding, right? And that set it back almost 2 months. So, you have to kind of plan for the worst case scenario and see what that would look like. And then lastly, how long it takes, so if all those go wrong, how much money would you lose or how much would you make in this scenario, where actually would probably worst case scenario still make about $28,000. But we typically are like, hey, I'm willing to lose $10,000 on a deal if everything goes wrong, maybe $15,000 depending on the size of the deal. But that would mean that I'm $15,000 after everybody's paid. All my lenders, everybody, I'll take that loss. I'll write that check. It's just a cost of doing business at times, but it hasn't yet happened. But you do have to prepare for that, especially as a newbie or somebody that's just starting out, because you don't want to be, get out of the game on your first deal because you made some bad decisions and you lost a lot of money.
And that's why this worst case is on the calculator, right? Like we want to know, hey, if 2 10 days, what if that went to 250 days? You'll notice that all of a sudden we're going to lose, some money. What happens all of a sudden if we have to do $120,000, rehab on that deal now instead of a $100,000 deal, right? Like what if our ARV is now all of a sudden 390, right?
Yep.
And usually that's what we'll do on this worst case scenario is we're looking to see, hey, worst case scenario, what would happen if we were to hold this property for 1 extra month? And you guys saw, if we go to that 240 days, it really only changes that a little bit because the total amount of money to hold the property isn't that much at such a low purchase price. So
yeah. And we usually always go to the worst case right after base case. Don't start thinking about the best case first, because then you'll kind of fudge the numbers on the worst case just because you see a lot of potential profit on best case. So we'll go base case. What do we feel really confident this thing's going to happen at based off all the data that we have? And then worst case is, hey, if everything really, really goes wrong, and be very objective and not like, oh, just being too optimistic there, but not too pessimistic, like really what could really go wrong? And then we calculate the best case at the last scenario. So we're like, oh man, this thing has a lot of upside potential if we hit it out the park.
Yep. And talking about hitting it out of the park, again, that's why we like to do these deals where, we have our base case numbers hit our goals, right? Which is 30% or more, 50K or more on 150K down. If that's what we're investing in the deal, that's what we're putting in money wise, then we expect to make an amount back. And, same on the worst case if everything goes wrong. But on the best case, you do want to also have that side of things, right? And that's why we save the best for last. Because the best is what you want to kind of look at, last here, because this gives you what would happen if everything went right.
Yeah.
This would be if we got the rehab done a little bit cheaper than we thought, if we got it done a little bit sooner than we thought, if we, got more value for it on the end than we thought we would, if the market continued to heat up, what are some of the things that we could see happen, right?
Yeah. And also if the lender gives us better terms than we expect.
Correct. You might have a better term down here.
Yeah, so that could happen sometimes.
Some better valuation.
Remember, guys, sometimes it's hard money lenders have appetite. So like, for example, we just got some great terms on the property we're doing in Hollywood, simply because the lender we're doing it with really likes the area and the appraisal came in very high based on the price that we're getting the property at. So that's what we say when it's best case scenario, but you don't always know those numbers going into a deal. Even when you open escrow, some things can change. So we're always just looking at the best case scenario of like, hey, but it's funny, some wholesalers always are going to give you the best case scenario, right? As the base case, to be real. So keep that in mind. We are very, well, I mean, we're trying to be as accurate as possible what we really have here. We don't, because sometimes you'll see a comp and we're like, hey man, the market's hot right now. Maybe we get the same as that comp, but that comp has like one extra bathroom. And maybe, 2-3 months, that might not matter. And actually the prices go up a little bit, inflation, all that. But like, that's what I'm talking about. You don't want to put that as a base case. You want to put that as best case. Anyways, go ahead,
guys. I mean, this is one of our scope of works that we'll submit on these properties, to our lenders. And some of these numbers are not going to be accurate, right? Like a roof, it might be 13,500. We're not going to put in there the direct quote from that vendor, because we might not have gotten it yet, but we're just going to use based off of our experience, right? And Alex, that comes to, what you mentioned earlier, which is, when you do deals in an area over and over again, you become familiar with what a roof costs in an area. You become familiar with what a bathroom costs in an area, especially if you do the same style rehab, the same colors, the same flooring, things like that. You start to become more and more familiar. So, just to give you guys an idea again, on a 90K rehab, we'd be looking at some things on this property, like a garage conversion, a roof addition, a roof upgrade, bathroom, kitchen upgrade, some bedroom upgrades, windows, and some things like that along the way, right?
Yep. And then it's funny because I used to get on my project managers back in the day when I, wasn't doing deals with my own money. I was working for people, and I'd be like, "How the hell did we spend $4,000 on a bathroom? This thing's like a toilet, some tile, a tub, and a vanity. Like, how are we spending $4,000?" And then I had to do one for myself, and then I was like, "Oh, okay, that's why you spend $4,000 on a bathroom." So there's so much value, guys, for doing deals, because then you see it for yourself. And then you get better at understanding rehab costs, which we, as an investor, you need to constantly, get great at. And also, it's a moving target. Material cost goes up, labor cost goes up. So
let's take a look at our second deal. Guys, if you have any questions on that deal, let us know in the chat down there. I saw one question coming in from Rashawn asking, is this a trending area, or has this been like this for years? And Alex, I'd say this is, an area that has been like this for a while. Joshua Tree has had its own quirky little vibe, but just recently, in the last maybe 5 to 10 years, it's really started heating up as a go-to destination, I think.
Yeah, I would say in the last 2 years is when I started to hear a lot of buzz about it, particularly especially once the COVID and that hit in the pandemic, and then now once it rebounded after pandemic, where people want to be out there, it's even exploded even more. So it was already trending. You used to be able to buy houses out there for like $100,000, like $150,000, but then it started creeping up, and then now it's just like in a matter of the last year and a half, things have exploded. So I see it continue, because when I think hey, 5 years from now, buying a house in Joshua Tree, a nice sized property, completely remodeled, that you can do short-term rentals, and it's kind of now a little bit more, developed, like $500,000 is, I think, is going to be a good price. And that's kind of what you're seeing already right now. So just kind of thinking out in the future of what would Joshua Tree look like 5 years from now, I think it's helpful to see hey, a house retail 500,000 is really actually not that bad a deal.
Agreed. Well, let's pop into our second deal here today that we wanted to take a look at, guys. Again, this is another deal out in the same area, just I'd say, the city right before Joshua Tree, right? There's Yucca Valley, there's Morongo Valley, there's Joshua Tree, and then further out is 29 Palms. So this is a property that we were interested in, and we actually bought this while there was a moratorium on short-term rentals in this particular city. But we had a feeling that it was probably going to be turned around and continued for use, which would ultimately play into our resale value. Again, Joshua Tree is just right out here. That other property we just looked at was right out here, and 29 Palms, the furthest place, is this next town, way out here. So we're right here on our way out from Riverside. You have La Quinta, Coachella, Palm Springs, everything down this way. And then this is the entire National Park Reserve that you're still very close proximity to when you're up here in Yucca Valley. So, Alex, I know this is one that we bought because of purchase price, right? It's a home in Los Angeles, proper. It's technically in San Bernardino, but, close to LA, $155,000. This is a property that had flip written all over it, right?
Yeah, exactly. So we looked at this property, and I remember being super skeptical about it and saying, "Oh man, no, we don't want this deal. This thing needs to be like 120, 130,000." Well, when we really analyzed and dug deep, because sometimes it's just not worth going that deep on a deal, simply because you're not that advanced in negotiation. But you guys had done a great job of making an offer, and then they came back. I think we got an accepted offer. That's correct, right, Will?
Yeah, we got it accepted at 165, and we got a 10K credit back on that because of the condition of the home. So, very very important piece of it there as well.
Yes, exactly. So we locked it up at the price. I think they wanted us to kind of be in at like a 180 or something. We did some negotiation on you guys on your behalf. You guys did a fantastic job, and then we got locked up at 165. After that, we knew we were gonna get a chance to get inside and inspect it. We did that with our boots on the ground, with our contractor, with everybody. We had that inspection period. I think maybe we had 5 days or something like that. So it's worth the investment, guys. But so we had to put $5,000 deposit. We had to put $400 on an inspection. That's an investment, man. We could end up not losing that, but we have to get that money back, waste some time, and then spend $400. Do I want to do that? Does Will want to do that? No. But that's the cost of being a boss. That's the price of doing business. And so we did that. And because of my experience of renegotiating deals, we don't go in trying to renegotiate every deal. I know investors, and I've worked for investors in the past. I try to do that on every single deal. That's really not our flow. I understand it's part of the game, but also we're trying to change the game a little bit, or try to do the game a little bit different, right? And so Will recorded that call, and I think he shared it in the Facebook group. So if you guys haven't seen that or heard that call, he did a fantastic job of just basically coaching the listing agent on how to get us the price reduction we needed to really take it down. Because if they didn't get that price reduction, we would have walked. We would have canceled that deal. So since that happened, we ended up getting the price reduction to 155, and then we looked at it and we're like, hey, worst case scenario, you guys can see the numbers right now, not that bad. Let's take the deal down. And that's what we did.
Yeah, and here's the call, guys. If you do want to listen in, it's this one that's a Zoom recording. This was me giving the agent, as Alex mentioned, feedback, and it's not something that we wanted to do, but it was, after we had paid this amount of money, we had paid $400, we were presented with new data points. And that's something Alex mentioned before, is when you have data points and when you get new data points, it helps you. And, sometimes you don't have as many data points when you're starting off. And that's how this deal was, is when we were starting off, we didn't have all the data points. But once we collected the data points and we were comfortable sharing that data with the agent, and the agent was able to sell that data, or, not sell that, but, get that data back to the sellers, then they were able to see like, okay, wow, there is some other things on the property that we weren't aware of that these guys are going to have to fix. And this does seem like a pretty fair number that they're coming to. And again, it's a standard remodel out there. It's a smaller 1,000 square foot or less property. You can see it's got some, stucco exposure on the outside, inside. It can use an updated kitchen and certainly an updated bathroom. There's some areas here where it looks like they're using a dresser from a bedroom to kind of support pieces of the shower there. I know this is one of my favorite Mickey Mouse things I'd seen in a house. The rod right there is actually just held up as cinder blocks. And,
I don't even remember seeing that. That's awesome. I love it.
So I mean, these are just the things that you'll see in these kind of houses, and those are usually dead giveaways for us. So when we look on here at 1,000 square feet or less homes within a mile of this area closed in the last 250 days, that's kind of what we're looking at in terms of comps. We'll even bring it in a little closer. Really, I want to stay within like this kind of neighborhood here. 2-1 down the road, 864 square feet. This is ours right here. Again, 952 square feet, 2-1. So just looking at this.
Will, I don't want to overlook the negotiation thing, because I think it's very valuable. So just stay right there. But what I wanted to make a quick point for the deal makers here that are attending is, number one, getting good at renegotiating deals so that way it works is a skill set. The unfortunate part is that you actually have to get that at-bats. Now, Will is, as you guys know, Will is an absolute machine, just a savage. So I trust him to have those conversations that I once had and done dozens and dozens of times. So I remember the first one that you did. I still remember where I was. I was in Oahu. I was at Indar Slip. I was staying there, and you were renegotiating Southgate. Do you remember that?
Oh, yeah.
And then I was like, and you kind of were a little shaky. You weren't as confident as this call that you're sharing with the guys, everybody on the Facebook group. But then now this call, I didn't even have to coach you at all and anything. You knocked it out the park. So I just wanted to kind of share with you guys that if you're doing deals, this is going to come up. So you need to get good at renegotiating deals, and then also the second point I want to make is that on our Paramount flip and a couple other deals that we did, we had already calculated the scope of work to include all this work that needed to be done on the plumbing. And so we asked for a $10,000 price reduction. They gave us $8,500. And even if they would have said no and not giving us anything, we still would have bought the deal. So essentially that was kind of free money right there. So you can definitely nibble. It's called nibbling. You can nibble stuff off, or you can use the skill to renegotiate the deal so that way it works so you don't have to cancel. Super valuable in either case. And good job again, Will, on getting that 10,000 out and helping us acquire another property.
And guys, I see a couple of you guys sharing them in the chat here. I just made a post on the Facebook group. You can see it right here. It just says, what's the biggest renegotiation you've gotten on a deal? It can be a contractor bid, purchasing, buying a property, whatever it is. Go ahead and share it in here. Because again, like I think those are, huge wins that people can take from it. And as Alex mentioned, like this is a skill that you have to become comfortable with, and it takes reps, right? And my first call wasn't the best, but I got better and better. And, each of you guys will get better and better as you take more and more reps at it as well. So would love to see you guys kind of chime in there and share your biggest renegotiation that you've gotten.
Mine was 80,000.
80,000, yeah.
From the accepted offer. That was already kind of a good deal, but then we had a little bit of issues with electrical, plumbing, and all that. And we hit them with.
I was close to that Laverne deal at 177K underneath. Like that was beast.
Oh, I know. The cancel.
We had him at 155 under asking, and we went for that extra 18, and they were like, no, we can't do that. And it was like, all right, man, well, we got to walk.
Not only that, they didn't even want to sell the property anymore, or did they?
No, I don't think they ended up selling the property. They put the tail between their legs and walked away.
They had a bad taste in their mouth dealing with low ball wall.
So, again, guys, this is a 265er, same thing, built in the similar year, gone in 4 days, right off the market. And when you kind of click in and look at this is they left the original tile in. They did upgrade the windows and upgrade the kitchen, and did a little bit of a backsplash here on the bathroom, but nothing too crazy. And this is something that again we'll be able to do very similar look and feel on our property and get that thing for a very similar ARV. I'll show you guys another one of our comps. Again, we usually like to try and stay right around our neighborhood. 252. This is a 580 square foot, 1 bedroom, 1 bath. And you guys can tell right when you click into this, this is, what does this look like? It looks like an Airbnb property, has the big fence that surrounds it, the backyard features, the fire pit, the swing, and, this kind of Airbnb fun look on the inside. So this gives us an exit comp if we wanted to do, and this isn't a full Airbnb flip. This is, again, a little bit more of a cookie cutter that they tried to make look more like an Airbnb. And so we have a couple of really strong comps gone within a month on the market, within a couple of blocks of this property here. So any questions on that one, go ahead and let us know in the chat, guys. Same other reason why we're looking in these areas. When you look at the properties that are available, there's a 2-1 right near us that's on market for 300,000. That's been on there for 116 days. And this is what that one looks like. It's kind of like a lived in property. Nothing in here screams new. And when we put out our property is going to shine compared to these. And that's what we typically are trying to do is, list properties in areas where there are not properties available. So that's what we're looking for.
Yep.
I see Noriel commenting on lot sizes out here. Lot sizes in Yucca Valley and the desert do matter, but they're all really going to be big lots regardless. So when you look at our property, ours is still on a 10,000 square foot lot. So sure, some of these are on, 17,000 square foot lots. Some of these are on, quarter acre, but this one right here is on a smaller lot than ours, and it sold for 252 in a short amount of time. Yep. This one here is on a 4 times bigger than ours lot. It's 44,000 square feet, but that just, when you look at it, it's just the end street right here. So it's got one of these end units where everybody else, in this block has the smaller cookie cutter lots. So lot size does matter when you get out here, guys, in the desert. The property that we're looking at way out here in the desert is on 2.5 acres. So that's the one that we were looking at out here. Whereas the other property that we have in town, sits on a 0.4 acre property. So it's about, a fifth of the size of this other property that we're looking at. So that does play a big factor into it, right, Alex?
Yeah. Lot size and You're always looking for your exit value or after repair value to be in the same pocket, same type of property. You can't always do that, but that's why you need to do. It's a bit of an art and a science to analyze deals. That's why it's critical that you do a lot of it, so that way you find that, kind of that balance of, okay, do I know this area? Don't know it. Okay, know the area, but then how well I know this price point in this area. So there's just a lot to it, a lot of nuance. And this is a newer area for us, but we're asking a lot of questions. We're talking to a lot of people. We're constantly out there as a team collecting data. And when we went out there, I remember I spent time going grab bite to eat in the local areas, and just everybody that I talked to, that's an investor that knows anything about the area, I'm asking them their feedback and input. So you can get specialized knowledge of an area fairly quickly if you talk to enough people and ask the right questions.
Yep, having the right team, the right people out there is definitely important. And let's take a look real quick here at the calculator on this deal, just so we can again kind of get an idea of why we did this and why having the right team out there is important. First off, we had an initial estimate on this of $55,000, and when we got our contractor out there, he was like, "Oh man, I can do this for much less." And we had a feeling. We were like, you know what? Let's put in a heavier rehab estimate. But this is a 900 square foot home that probably doesn't need that much work outside of a kitchen, a bathroom, and some flooring on the interior. And that gives us a good amount of money on the exterior to kind of make this look like an Airbnb. So that's the first thing on there. Second thing on there is you guys again will notice that the worst case to the best case to the base case, there's a good spread on there, right? And that's what you mentioned, Alex, is the spread on a deal and how much money we have to use on a deal. So can you go over that for people, kind of why that's an important part of our deal, why we look for this return and what we're putting in to be, kind of in correlation?
Yeah, of course. So the way I look at it is like, say, for example, you have a deal and it's going to take you $250,000 of cash, whether that be your cash, part of your partners and or people that you are money partnering with, cash. Do you want to make like 10% of that, 25 grand? How is everybody going to eat? So that's why I look at it primarily. But if I'm going to use, say, 80,000 of that capital, 86,000, and then I'm going to get my money back plus a return of $36,000. That's a great return, right? As compared to like using like 130,000 to getting that same return. It's like, okay, it's not as attractive. So you have to decide for yourselves, you guys, what your minimum desired profit is for the amount of work that you're going to be putting into these deals, and obviously whatever cash you're putting in. So I think that's a very important indicator to us. We're like, okay, how much capital are we going to tie up? Because our liquidity varies. We sell a couple houses, we have a couple 100,000 more. We buy a couple houses, we have a little bit less, we have to raise more capital. Like right now, we're buying a lot of property. So, but then now we're also starting to see a lot of our property come back around, and we're going to be, a little bit, we're going to have a little bit more liquid, I would say, in the beginning part of next year, because we had a couple of real big flips that are going to hit. So I think all those are factors, but that's how I look at it. How much money we're going to use, how much we're going to potentially return. Is there enough in there for us to really justify that? And that's how we look at it.
Yeah, and guys, again, Alex mentioned it. It's you need to come up with what your number is, what makes sense for you, your business, your model, how many people you have, in your kitchen that you're feeding, how big your team is, right? I think all those are big, important, pieces of that puzzle.
Also, if you could play with the calculator, but say, for example, the lender was willing to do 15% down, right? 15% down on that, because just say it was an area that's densely populated or something, and then say you got a project loan card from Home Depot because they offer them for 6 months free interest. I highly recommend them. We're not using one now. I just paid off our last one, but they usually give you 15, 20, 25,000, 6 months, no interest. So say we got 20,000 and we only have to use 25,000 of our money, and the rest is on that project loan card. We pay a little bit of interest, but less cash, right? Something like that. Yeah. So now, like, damn, we could actually use less cash and less overall. And then so now maybe we're willing to maybe buy the deal a little bit tighter, or spend another 5,000 on it, or come up 5,000, 10,000 bucks. So, there's different hacks, you guys, to being able to structure deals. The cost of the money and the cost of the construction are big factors on being able to make or break a deal. And that can vary based on your level, your resources, how much cash you have, experience with rehab, all that good stuff. So keep all that in consideration when you're putting these deals together and reviewing these deals, the numbers on the deal calculator.
And guys, like we said, I want to hear your biggest renegotiation. Like, what were you able to get back? Were you able to get back, 50% terms on your rehab estimate? What big saving did you guys see? I think you guys will get a lot of value from sharing that on here. So, this was awesome, Alex. I know these were a couple of the deals that we have taken down, recently out in the desert, but we wanted to bring on a guest this week. If you're out here in the Los Angeles area, you're probably pretty familiar with him. He's doing a lot of properties out in the desert as well. And that's why we wanted to bring him in here to chat with you guys, to talk a little bit more about the land side of things, right? So let's go ahead and bring him in here and we will chat more about land.
Gabriel, what's up, campeón?
What's good, boys? How's everything going?
Guy, every time I see this guy, he has a smile on his face. That's what I like, Gabriel, man. See, that's why he's got good energy. Every time I see him, he's just like, let's go, like a kid in a candy store.
That's the way I feel doing real estate every day. It's like, man, where's the next deal coming from? I can't see myself working a boring 9 to 5. I mean, dude, like there's so much opportunity out here, and it's just like, it's just insane. And I'm really inspired. Like every day I wake up thinking about the deals that I have, my new leads that are coming in, and just like, all right, where are we at with this? Where are we at that? What's the potential value for this, potential value for that? So you guys shared a lot of insight. I obviously believe a lot in the desert. I actually just hosted a development meetup last week, and we had a pretty good turnout. I was showing everybody.
Yeah, you had like 25, 30 people come out to learn about the desert, right? So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of interest. Again, like huge kudos to you, because that shows, dude, there's interest in the desert, right? Like people want to know, people want to be investing out there. It's definitely a hot topic.
Definitely. I mean, there's a lot of things driving, the growth out there. A lot of it is obviously the national park. People like to be out in the open air. We're tired of living in these concrete jungles. So yeah, I mean, I've been invested in it for a couple of months now. I believe my first deal out there was in like June. And like, it was like a one land deal that I had gotten, and I didn't even know too much about the market. Obviously you learn as you go, but it was a deal that actually sold to Eddie and Ulysses, the architects. I don't know if you guys know them. They're good friends of mine. And yeah, I mean, it was just a great deal. So I want to be able to break down a deal that I had.
And you can share your screen if you want, Gabriel, so you can kind of, pull that up and show us a little bit. Because, again, I want you guys to understand that the different sides of investing in the desert, right? There's what Alex and I are doing, which is, beautifying existing properties in the desert. And then there's what, Gabriel is doing, which is he's, looking more at the land side of things for people to develop out there in the desert, right? So there's a couple of different strategies, just like there is here in the core LA market as well.
Yeah, exactly. So what I've seen the huge opportunity on is a lot of people who are building out there. So land is I think flipping land is way easier. In my experience, people are not that emotionally attached to the land out there right now. So for example, one deal that I did recently was this 10-acre parcel right here. So, I do all my marketing through my virtual assistants, out cold calling and stuff like that. So I believe cold calling is very much alive. I've got all my deals calling. So this deal here came in my system about 6 months ago. And this seller, he originally was asking for like 185. And when I saw the lot, I was like, all right, it's decent, but I didn't see too many good new construction comps in the area. But obviously when you get a lot of lead flow, they can be easy to, get lost in the sauce for, where you're following up with the leads and whatnot. So I came back to this lead a while ago, and I was actually driving because I would go out there, check out the lots myself. So really a couple key things that I look for when I'm looking for lots like this. Is there any Joshua trees? Making sure that the Joshua trees have enough space, separating them so that they're not, covering the area where you can actually build a house. The views are very, very important. And obviously the utilities, right? So we look for how far is power, how far is the water from here. So This lot, I went to go check it out with my pops, and we drove by, and I was like, all right, it's not too bad. So I was asking for 185, and I'm like, I'm not too sure if it's worth that much even. But anyways, what I looked into once I drove out there, I came back, and actually, like I said, going back to, having the good relationships, I think that's key. So I actually hit up, my boy Eddie, and I was like, yo, bro, like, what do you think you could do with this? Do you even think you think you can build multiple houses here? What do you think you can do? And then he told me straight up. So there's the zoning in some of these properties, like for example, this one, I'm not sure if it shows here or if it shows on my other software. I think it shows on the other software on my, I use Property Radar as well. But
You can probably split this into 2 parcels, maybe 4, right?
Exactly. So this property is zone JTRL. So JTRL means that you can subdivide to 2.5 acre parcels, right? So this is a 10-acre parcel. The beautiful thing about it, like I said, is there's power all around. So you can see power poles come here. The power poles run on the south side as well, and also on the east side. So I mean, it's just all over, right? And the water runs. There's a water line that runs on the north side, and the water line that runs on the south side. So it's just easy to go ahead and build. It's flat, obviously, so it's like a really, really good deal. So when I saw it, I honestly didn't even know the valley, but I was like, I think it might be worth something to my guys. So originally, here, I'll show you guys some of the notes on.
I'm curious about what you said real quick. I'm sorry to interrupt, but about the Joshua trees. So then you're not able to build on top of them or get rid of them, correct? Or how does that work? How does that play?
Yeah,
so if you have a parcel that has full of them, then that's not as desirable then, I would imagine?
Yeah. Because
they're protected, Alex. So we are not demolishing any Joshua trees on any.
I didn't want to say I want to. I'm just like curious for investor purposes. Like, what is
just so you guys know, we are not authorizing the demolishment of any Joshua trees on any of our properties.
There was a article. I don't know if you guys can see my screen. This happened in a house there in downtown Joshua Tree. People fined $18,000 for bulldozing dozens of Joshua trees to make way for a home. So I mean, it's like it's hated against by the residents. Obviously, you're destroying nature. So we want to keep the trees there. We want to find the right lots that we can build on, because if not, we're going to be on this deal when one of the neighbors snitched. But I mean, that just happens a lot out there.
And Caesar just asked in the chat, like, what's the fine to remove a Joshua tree? So you guys just saw right there, it can be upwards of $18,000. Like that's a big fine.
Wow. Yeah, it's insane. So this property had really nice views, and it came into my system 6 months ago and July 1st, and then on August 2nd, one of my guys followed up. We tried to get in touch with them, nothing. And then on August 25th, like obviously our follow-up game isn't even like that good. We're still working on it. I'm still working on it. There's a lot of leads that I just kind of leave from the system. But anyways, then 4 months ago, the 2 days after, he's like, yo, you should hit this up again. I was like, all right, cool. So I think I offered him 80 to 90 when I hopped on the first call with him. But originally he was asking for 185 on this lot. So he was asking for 185 on this lot. And I was like, I don't know, bro. I'll probably be around 80, 90. And still, like, it was still, something that when I talked to him, he was like pretty busy. So like I write down all the notes. He was hiking in the park. He's like, I won't take less than 100,000. I got for 70, but I won't take that, blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh shoot, okay. So I sent him a text, and then he's like, yo, if you're really, really interested, bro, like send me a message with your offer, and then I'll get you in touch with my agent. I'm like, oh, like, sometimes when the agents get involved, that can be a pain in the ass, especially since I'm marketing directly to sellers. So I was like, oh man, this is gonna be this is all gonna fall down. The agent's gonna see the value.
Deal killer, right?
Yes, it can be.
Can I say something real quick about that? Is that can be a deal killer a lot of times. Other times, if you know what you're doing, you're a seasoned negotiator, right? And the seller's really motivated. I've still got deals that way as well. So you don't give up, but it's going to be definitely a little bit more of a hurdle. I had that happen with this Maui house with a very seasoned lawyer got involved. And man, it was a dogfight, but we figured it out. So you can still do it, but just, it's like, on your P's, and you got to be on point, man, because now you got some other people involved in the transaction.
That's why this deal, I mean, I learned a lot. It was my first deal I did with the agent. So he calls up his agent, a family or friend he knew for a while. And she didn't know much about the desert, so I just called her up. I'm like, yo, like, what's good? And she was like, yeah, so he's going to prepare a counter and blah, blah, blah. And then she told me over the phone, I think they countered at like 150. And I told her on the phone, like, yo, like, come on, like, what's the best? And she was like, I think that he'll be able to take like 120 or else we're going to put it on the market. And then I was like, oh man. So I was like, 120. doesn't seem that bad. I was thinking maybe I can sell it for another 10 at least thousand, because I mean I saw a good potential value, but yeah, this deal was one of the ones that got away, you can say, because I found out later it was worth a lot more. But anyways, I locked it up in escrow for 120 and sold it in 9 days for 150. I made a $30,000 sign fee that fast. Later on down the line, I got in touch with some other developers, and they told me I could have sold it for like 350 for the value of like the development value in it. But it's all learning experiences. I don't regret any of it. I'm just happy that I learned at that time. So really key things about this property. So if we look at prop stream and we look at the comparables, there's this property right on this corner of the street, just down the street. And this property sold for 585. And I believe this one's like 1,200 square feet. And the reason why it got that price was because, it has really nice views. It looks like these Airbnbs you would stay at, right? I mean, people love these big windows and the views look really nice. So once I showed this to my guy who bought it, he was like, yeah, I love the views. I think I'd be able to build 4 houses there. And I mean, he tells me that he's going to be all in on the project at 1.25. And he thinks each house would be worth about 750 minimum. So I mean, he's going to make a killing. So that's why, like, it got me even more excited into seeing what's going on out there. Like, this is obviously just like, it's not even new construction. It's obviously completely remodeled. As you can see, looks really nice. Amazing views. That's what people pay for. And then obviously a nice hot tub that you need for it to be a good investment there.
This is just a clean, like you said, like anybody can develop a property that looks clean like this. And so, yeah, this is huge. Like you're comping out directly for this developer.
Are we getting a hot tub are we getting a hot tub in our Airbnb, Will?
Yeah,
you have to.
And guys, this is why, when we do the seller disclosures, sometimes Alex is like, is there a jacuzzi? I honestly don't know.
I don't know.
And
we need one. We need one.
Yeah, we need one. Let's get one.
Sometimes even a hammock too, man. Hammocks are key. People love those. People pay a lot for that.
They're the outdoor like features, right? The Instagrammable feature outside, where people, when they go out to these areas, they want to be outside. They want to enjoy the nature. So yeah, this is a money comp a couple blocks down the road from you, right?
This is down the street. It's 16 square feet, 1958, 1.25 acres. He's gonna be splitting these to 2.5 acres. Yeah, I mean, this built 15 houses out there right now. And, he's building out there like crazy. Why? Because he sees the potential value. So, yeah, this is just one of the deals. And it was a really good deal. Obviously, I'm not going to be sad about 30K. It was still really good. But obviously, when I found out the more information, I'm like, all right, cool. Now I know for next time, whenever I encounter a deal like this, I know what it's valued at. I know what it's going to cost to come and actually develop it. And that's why, like, I'm actually buying another lot right now on the north side. Because you guys did mention Joshua Tree, you guys did mention Yucca, 29 Palms, Morongo, but Landers is booming right now too. So that one builder friend that I have, he's building 4 houses out there. There's a lot of crazy comps that are going on over there. So actually buying a little lot right there where I'm looking to do my first development, and then see what else I can do in Joshua Tree, just because I'm a huge believer in that market. And yeah, I'm excited that that's going to continue growing.
Awesome. I love it. What do you see as a difference between like Joshua Tree, Landers, and kind of just in general?
The difference, the name. I mean, Joshua Tree is a brand, right? But like a lot of the Airbnbs are what's driving the income out there, right? That's just like a fact, right? There's a lot of income being driven by these Airbnbs, and that's why they're getting a lot more for their resale value, because they're either turnkey ready for Airbnb, or like, for example, I'll give you guys an example. This one is pretty close by and it's actually active. I don't know if you guys know Tony Robinson from Bigger Pockets.
Yeah.
But yeah, so this is a property that he's currently selling for $584,900. But if we look on the public records, he just bought it for $310. And it's a full remodel. If you guys look at the pictures, I mean, it looks really nice. I mean, for what he's selling it for. And yeah, I just feel that everything's going to grow out there. And Joshua Tree, like I said, it's more the name, but in Landers, like, it's growing as well. A lot of the Airbnbs in Landers say like, oh, Northern Joshua Tree, because I mean, if people are going to be out in the desert, do they care like what part, if it's kind of in the same general area, right? And it's like Landers is about like 20 minutes out from like the national park. So it's not even that far if they wanted to, go out there and stay out there for a while and then say, hey, I'm going to go into the park. So yeah, just on the northern side, it's less known. And I've known several. I just got phone with another guy who's doing a lot of fixing and flipping out there too. So it's pretty interesting to see, the projects he's done out there. So
and what about the new development? I'm curious if you know compared to other parts of building something brand new, from like basically acquisition to when the property is done? Do you know what's that time frame look like? Do you know that?
Typically, it's about a year. So it is a longer project, but the thing is, like, there is like some decent comps for, like, you know, new construction. Like, for example, there's one that's a random one out here in Sunfair. But a lot of these are like, you know, a lot of the people who are building out there, since they didn't cost them too much to build, they're deciding to just hold on to them and Airbnb them out. So I mean, this is like one of the comps that I saw that was like pretty crazy. There's nothing like this in this pocket, but it looks like a vacant land. But in reality, it's this house that sold for 1230 square feet, sold for 750, and this sold for 750. You know, not too long ago, and it was bought in like 2020 and built in 2020. And this is like one of the comps, but there's not that many comps for new construction because a lot of the builders are deciding to hold on to them and keep them because they're getting crazy rents for Airbnb.
Okay,
Yeah,
and I seen on the description it said something about Joshua Tree Music Fest. What is that?
Where is that? Is that here?
It says Joshua Tree Music Fest.
Yeah, I mean, it's just like that hippie vibe, you know, the Joshua Tree. There's a lot of people who have a lot of money that you know, the same people going to what's that event in Reno that
It's like a
Burning
bluegrass
Man.
festival, like more of like a little hippie music. But yeah, no, I've heard of it too out there. And it's, you know, it brings a couple thousand people out there to the area, but it's big time.
Yeah, so one thing I want to say about that real quick, guys, when you're reading descriptions of listings, very valuable because it tells you that whenever it's a resale listing, right, a flip listing, or just properties that actually sold, read all those descriptions. Very valuable information, especially if you're looking to find out information about an area that you want to invest in.
yeah, for sure.
I've seen it before where the agent will be like, beautiful walk down the boulevard to brand new development. And I'm like, oh, dang, there's a new development they just built. And I didn't know about it, but that agent alerted me to it. So couldn't agree with you more there, Alex. I think that's a great way of looking at
due diligence,
getting that extra detail.
For sure. And I think that if I'm going to add anything to that, like, you have to look at, okay, there's comparables that are pretty high. Like, why are they pretty high? Is it because they're already a business that is being sold? Basically, these Airbnbs, some of these are being sold as businesses, right? So for example, like one of the lots that I'm buying right here, that I'm currently purchasing, actually I sold this other one right here, but one of the comps for this one was a house that sold pretty high, really high price. And I was like, yo, why did this sell for so high? And it turns out, I think it's this one on Napa. Yeah, 725, right? 725 inlanders. And it's like, what, 1,200 square feet? Built in 19. Yeah, it's insane. It's not even a new construction, but why? Because it's already cash flowing Airbnb.
It's already an Airbnb that has a year worth of data, that has a lot of reviews.
So like 1,248 bought in cash at 725 just like a couple months ago. But if we look at the MLS details, Moonstone Mesa, the ultimate desert escape, the stunning, fully fenced, fully remodeled 2-bed, 2 baths. It's on 2 acres of land adjacent to 100 acres of untouched BML lands. People like that open air.
On track to surpass $100,000 in revenue.
Exactly.
What do the pictures look like?
So it's nice. 1969 remodeled. Obviously got that tub.
There's the jacuzzi.
There we go. The fire pit, the hammock out here. You know, fully remodeled on the inside. Like, don't get me wrong, it's really nice. But you know, this is just one of the properties that sold that
polished concrete.
Yeah.
Floors.
Exactly. Yep. So they use like a lot of these shelves out here. People don't like the cabinets for the short-term rentals because why do they even need cabinets, right?
Yep.
They're gonna be there for a little while. And there's like another one that sold off market inlander, 605 square feet that sold for 600,000 off market. Why? Because of the same reason, Airbnb income, and it's just helping grow the entire market. So I mean, for me, like,
Gabriel, I know you did a presentation on the Joshua Tree, the development, the area out there. Would you mind sharing those slides in the Facebook group with the tribe, just so everybody can kind of, you know, get an idea? And if you don't mind, just sharing your contact info in there as well. And if anybody has, you know, any questions on, you know, development or properties out there in the desert, I think, you know, Gabriel is a very valuable resource out there, whether it's landers, you know, 29 Palms, Joshua Tree. I think he's very well versed out there. Would you agree, guys? You get a big thumbs up from everybody if you got a lot of value today out of Gabriel and everybody again, we appreciate everybody tuning in. I know this isn't core LA, but this is, again, investing in a market that's directly outside of a core market. And, again, valuable skills to have here, that you guys got to pick up today.
Well, you're carving out your niche, Gabriel. So I'm really proud of you because it seems like you're seeing the opportunity, just like we saw with the Antelope Valley. As not a lot of people want to go out to the desert, bottom line. And so since there's not as many people willing to go and do that and get in the desert, get in the heat and take those far drives, you're going to be rewarded for that. And you already seen it. So keep going, brother.
Thanks for the opportunity, guys. Really appreciate it.
And you guys can see this, like the kid's not, a schmuck. Like so far this year, he's done a good amount of deals out there in the area. So he's, very familiar with it, understands the market, understands the area. And again, Gabriel, we appreciate you jumping on today and, sharing some of these facts with us, dude. This was good stuff.
Appreciate the opportunity, guys. Always a pleasure to hang out with some of the GOATs right here in LA investing.
Cool stuff, guys. Well, we'll catch everybody on the flip side next week. Want to be respectful of everybody's time. I know, some of you guys got to run and get along and get your deals wrapped up and locked in. So again, Gabriel, we appreciate you jumping on today. That was some really killer stuff today. If you guys got a lot of value, again, let us know. Let us know on the Facebook group as well, guys. If you have a question for Steve Trang, that's going to be our special guest for the first week of the month. We're going to have another special guest that we're announcing, but let us know what your questions are, and then we can go ahead and get you guys live on screen, and you'll be able to ask your question to Steve live next week or next week. Cool. We'll see you guys on the flip side.
All right, guys. Aloha. Let's go.
Peace.
Thanks again, Gabe. You're a legend.